Okay, so what we start with today is something of class 11th, technically saying. What are our targets for today is, that is, about project. Now, we have really not done much regarding this in class 11, so I'm coming back to that topic once before I proceed with the uh, project related stuff of class 12th. Okay, now my topic here is introduction to the Capstone Project. Okay, now first of all is the term, what is Capstone Project? Right, this term is basically trying to tell you that it's the culmination of my understanding of the entire academic program. Okay, so as such project, we do say in our 11th and 12th that whatever you've learned in your class 11th and 12th, it's the application of that practically. That this is what I intend to do with whatever I've learned. Right. But because nowadays we do small projects and case studies and things like that throughout the session, so they have given a final name to the, they have given a name to the final project you're creating. And that name is Capstone Project. It is nothing out of the world as such. But the meaning is that this is my final project. So my target now is to start working on the project work too. And hence, this is my first step. So I first talk about the understanding what was required last year, and then we proceed to the current syllabus, current year's requirement. Okay. Now, of course, we can develop a project only when we understand the topic or the subject matter properly, and then we integrate it with the knowledge we have gained and try to implement it to solve a problem, an existing problem maybe, which has already, the society has given me solutions to that to some extent, but I tend to give my way to it. That is my target. Okay, to develop a project. That is the core objective of this particular thing, that we are trying to develop sustainable environment, and we are trying to incorporate that into every human being, that resources are very, very less and the demand is very high. So my target is for a sustainable development. So my main aim is to solve a problem of environment. So that is why we go back to the SDG goals this year. Okay. But then that's a secondary thing. First is we try to understand the first step as to how to proceed with it, how to understand the methodology being followed, how do we go about it. एक प्रॉब्लम को सॉल्व करने का तरीका क्या है, how to approach it. We solve problems on day-to-day basis, but then एक proper प्रॉब्लम को जब मुझे एक सोल्यूशन में कन्वर्ट करना है, तो उसको अप्रोच, सिस्टमैटिक अप्रोच क्या है उस चीज का. ठीक है. Now, there are certain examples of the Capstone project which I've picked up from your handbook material itself. Are these, which are like your project targets also, which can be your project targets also, that this is what I tend to create. जिसमें majorly we have the regression process involved. ठीक है. जो हमने एक एग्जाम्पल बिगिनिंग ऑफ द सेशन किया था, लाइक स्टॉक प्राइस इंडिकेटर डेवलप करना, सेंटिमेंट एनालाइजर. स्टॉक प्राइस इंडिकेटर इज बेस्ड ऑन माय रिग्रेशन. देन यू हैव अ सेंटिमेंट एनालाइजर. ये आपका क्लासिफिकेशन में आ जाएगा, दैट डिफरेंट सेंटिमेंट्स को आप क्लासिफाई करके देन यू ट्राई टू जज विद अ न्यू इनपुट. ओके. मूवी टिकट प्राइस इंडिकेटर्स, जितने भी इंडिकेटर्स, प्रेडिक्टर्स हैं, बेसिकली they are majorly AI driven, and then we are talking about these as my project. So these are various examples which something which is something which you feel to work on, you can definitely take it up as the your project work. Okay. Classification of humans and animals in a photo. So this is a computer vision based, and here we are using the teachable machine to do it. See, as per the syllabus of class 12th, it is not important to have a code based, completely a code based project also. It can be a no code based project also, wherein you use a teachable machine, wherein you use, but if you incorporate that with a website or something, So that a final solution is ready with you. Secondly, then we also learn the Orange AI data mining tool. Uske साथ भी you can develop. If you find that the coding part is difficult for you, then you can go for that. That is why they are giving you that no code tool, because nowadays these no code tools are very much being used by the coders also. Okay, to get the basic structure. So that is why both can be used, but then we first need to understand the process. That is what I'm focusing upon. First question which we need to work on with is the that any problem you are trying to work with, you're trying to work on AI solution for that. So my question to my situation will be that is there a pattern or not? Okay. If there's a pattern which we can develop, then we say that we can solve it using a AI machine. Because हम उस pattern पे data machine को train करेंगे with the data, and then my machine will be able to give me a solution to a new problem which I give him to. Okay. So there, this predictive analysis, we have done the various categories of analysis which is applicable, like predictive, prescriptive, all that, descriptive. So we have discussed about it in, I think, few classes before. And now we are talking about that. The predictive analysis is helping us basically identify the pattern. Prediction के लिए ना, mainly हम prediction के लिए कर रहे हैं इस चीज को focus, right? So आपको प्रॉब्लम को लेना है, प्रॉब्लम के लिए यू हैव टू आइडेंटिफाई वेदर इट्स अ क्लासिफिकेशन प्रॉब्लम और रिग्रेशन प्रॉब्लम और क्लस्टर प्रॉब्लम, क्लस्टरिंग प्रॉब्लम, anomaly detection problem, recommendation system you're trying to develop, like you're trying to develop like the YouTube recommendations or purchase recommendations, whatever. ठीक है? So you have to identify that thing and then accordingly proceed. Okay. Now where to start? That is very, very important. Talking about in general is okay, but then for where to start? For any problem to solve. Now, I try to correlate it with the day-to-day issues of our life. So any problem you're facing, for that you need a solution. You go to your brother, you go to your sister, you go to your elders, to your mentor, to a machine, to a code, to an app, whatever it is. First of all, it is very important that you understand the problem first. I mean, understand the problem well, and you're able to define it, and then only you can work for solutions. अगर तुम्हारा problem understanding में ही गड़बड़ है, you are not able to define and understand and define your problem properly, then you cannot really reach to the optimum solution. ठीक है? जैसे हम बोलते हैं ना, बच्चा रो रहा है, बच्चा doesn't know what is the problem, or an elderly is behaving a little odd, and then we are not able to understand कि उनको actually में problem क्या हो रही है. डायग्नोस करो ना, पहले प्रॉब्लम को डायग्नोस करो तो ही तो उसका सोल्यूशन निकालोगे. ठीक है? So that is why. So we start from this problem decomposition step. Now there's a problem. I need to decompose it to a micro level and then think about it. Okay. So you take up the problem, break down it into a few larger pieces, then break it down into few more smaller pieces and keep on breaking it till you understand it to be a single unit where I can apply a code, where I can apply a solution to it or make a solution of that. ठीक है? Test it and then proceed. Keep on integrating the components one by one and you develop the whole system. ठीक है? That applies to anything, any problem of your life too. You want to organize a party, so you start from कि ठीक है, I want to have a seamlessly, efficiently done things for myself. So then where do I start? I start from analyzing what all needs to be done. इसको और break down करो, और break down, ये भी. Then I take up one individual thing and then I solve it. That is how I do it in life also, and that is how you do it for the other problems of the society which you plan to solve or for yourself. Okay. Then there are these two terms which are very, very significant, that and where do they play their role in the development? That is critical and creative thinking. We are always saying people as students nowadays should develop critical thinking skills, creative thinking skills, social skills. We are always talking about it nowadays. It's very, 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 very important for the child to develop these skills, analytical skills, reasoning skills, mathematical skills. है ना? बचपन से you must have heard about it. ये करो इससे तुम्हारा skills develop होगा, वो करो उससे तुम्हारा ये वाला skill develop. Communication skills. है ना? So many skills are there. Now here we are talking about creative and critical skills, creative thinking and critical thinking के basis पे. Why? Because we are focusing on a problem, we are focusing on a solution. So ये दो चीजें हमारा mainly अभी to start with. सारे स्किल्स काम आते हैं जिंदगी में एक प्रॉब्लम को सॉल्व करने के लिए. अगर यू आर ट्राइंग टू डेवलप अ सोल्यूशन फॉर योर यूजर, द फर्स्ट थिंग इज यू नीड टू कम्युनिकेट विद हिम. द यूजर शुड फील कंफर्टेबल टू कम्युनिकेट विद यू. जब तक वो अपना प्रॉब्लम तुम्हें नहीं समझा पाएगा, जब तक तुम उससे उसकी प्रॉब्लम को समझ नहीं पाओगे, एंड फॉर दैट कम्युनिकेशन इज वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट. ठीक है, यू आर वेरी गुड एट कोडिंग, यू आर वेरी गुड एट एवरीथिंग, बट देन यू आर नॉट एबल टू कम्युनिकेट. So you will not be able to understand the problem and you will not be able to deliver the solution also properly to the person. उसको solution भी तो समझाना है ना कि इसको use कैसे करो इस solution को, है ना? So communication comes into play there. So everything is important. Every skill is important. What is your field or your job? उसमें वो particular skill का importance थोड़ा ज्यादा बढ़ जाता है, थोड़ा दूसरे skill का importance कम हो जाता है. For a back end job में भी communication at times इतना ज्यादा focus नहीं कर रहा है because the front end person is doing the communication thing. But ultimately कहीं ना कहीं you have to communicate. It's not that कि बिना communication मेरा काम चल जाएगा. ठीक है? So all those skills are there, but here we are focusing upon creative and critical. First step is critical because we are saying that it is the ability to analyze a problem as well as a solution, make judgments on facts and the data. That click has to be there. You should be able to critically think, logically think, whether it's a problem, whether it's a solution, whether it's a data about it, उसमें से क्या निकालना है, क्या important है, क्या नहीं है. All these things are very important to be judged first. So उसके लिए आपका वो critical thinking skill is very very important. Secondly, so wherein I have tried to incorporate these small diagrams from the internet so that you can get those small pointers in your mind. So critical thinking involves all these: reasoning, problem solving skill, analyzing skill, decision making skill, evaluating skill, all that. We have our prefects here in the group also, and in school we see so many decisions they have to take. ऐसा करो, वैसा करो. Certain decisions don't lead to good results. They are being scolded also for that, but that is how they learn. That is why we say that these kind of taking up these kind of acts or jobs in life, जहाँ पे you don't play safe, you don't act safe, you try to take some decisions, whether wrong or right. और decisions हम लोग elders भी जो लेते हैं वो सही नहीं होता है ना? But you learn, you pave your path through it, and that is how every situation in life we say is a learning experience for us. ठीक है? So that is why the critical thinking is the first step here, which we are talking about, because I need to judge everything. I need to analyze everything, starting from the problem to the solution to the data to the facts which I'm gathering. Right? Second is creativity. So creative thinking also plays a very, very important role with critical thinking because creativity gives you always a better solution from the user point of view, from the society point of view, from your point of view. For everybody's point of view, when you are doing a creative solution, you are trying to get a better solution. If it is more creative, if it is more appealing, which may be my result of the creativity, it is always better. है ना? So creativity leads to better solutions. So दोनों ही thinking बहुत जरूरी है. Creativity भी बहुत जरूरी है in everything. Because creativity से आपका scope बढ़ जाता है. You are able to think out of the box, which is very important. So a lot of things are part of it, which leads to better solutions. And I'm always looking for better solutions. ठीक है? So these two terms are very, very significant. Moving down further, I have certain things very categorically mentioned here, which comes under critical thinking and which comes under creative thinking. I've discussed about it. You can just read through. As such, we understand both the terms, I think, pretty well. Now, our focus here is design thinking methodology. Now, we will be talking about two methodologies and then incorporate one into another to develop our project ultimately. So in this particular session, we talk about design thinking, wherein we are trying to combine our creative and critical thinking together. सिर्फ critical और सिर्फ creative doesn't play for us. ठीक है ना? We need a combination to develop the best solution for us. सब कुछ होना चाहिए उसके अंदर facts भी judged होने चाहिए अच्छे से. All sorts of feasibilities should be checked, all sorts of problem areas should be checked critically, हर angle को critically सोचना है. And then you think about the best creative solution. Presentation, creativity is very important. It should be appealing. Everything comes under creativity, है ना? So इन दोनों को जब हम जोड़ देते हैं साथ में, we are trying to develop a human centric process. Because always my issue is to give solutions to the human beings, right? So that is why I'm trying to generate a system which is a human centric. I need to understand my users. Users are God. And they are the ones who are letting me utilize what I've learned. And so I have to take them as the core person in my life and move around him. ठीक है ना? So human centered. It should be जो भी solution आप बना रहे हैं, किसी भी चीज का solution आप बना रहे हैं, it should not be against humanity. कोई भी solution which is against humanity will not sustain. आपको सारी चीजें एनवायरमेंट सोशल लाइफ एवरीथिंग सबको इनकॉर्पोरेट करके सॉल्यूशंस निकालना है प्रॉब्लम का अदरवाइज इट विल नॉट हैव अ लॉन्ग टर्म इफेक्ट है ना दैट इज व्हाई और इस प्रोसेस को ही वी आर कॉलिंग एज डिजाइन थिंकिंग प्रोसेस टू डेवलप इनोवेटिव सॉल्यूशंस आई एम टॉकिंग अबाउट द डिजाइन थिंकिंग प्रोसेस नाउ व्हाट आर द वेरियस स्टेप्स इन दिस डिजाइन थिंकिंग प्रोसेस ठीक है इट मे साउंड वेरी वेरी रूडिमेंटरी वेरी वेरी व्हाट डू यू से कि obvious hai we work like this only but then we need to have a proper what do you say proper defined steps हो ठीक है किसी भी प्रॉब्लम को ऑब्वियसली हम पहले उसको समझते हैं उसके लिए आइडियाज निकालते हैं उसको डिफाइन करते हैं प्रॉब्लम को उसके लिए आइडियाज निकालते हैं सोल्यूशंस के लिए फिर उसका एक बेसिक लेआउट रेडी करते हैं फिर उसको टेस्ट करते हैं इज द लेआउट एप्लीकेबल टू माय सिचुएशन और नॉट वेरियस इनपुट्स में हम टेस्ट करते हैं वेरियस सिनेरियोज में वेरियस एनवायरमेंट्स में हम उसको टेस्ट करते हैं and if not if you see that it is not being able to give me the correct thing or we said it's not 50% viable not 100% viable so then I again go back to more ideas I do more brainstorming that is the whole crux of this entire thing that is the entire process actually किसी भी चीज के लिए but then we need to go as per the defined terms and terminologies कहाँ पे क्या चीज applicable है कैसे होता है saying it in the hawa is easy but then when you are working with a team when you are working with a system in that case you have to develop the steps for it people will look at you कि अच्छा अब क्या करना है so you have to tell him do this go by this method right so that is what we talk about here the actual step by step process of design thinking okay where the first is now the overall overview I'm giving you first फिर हम उस पे detail में चलते हैं first one is empathize now what we focus in empathize is that I try to understand my user, what he's thinking, what he's feeling, what he's trying to do. So all aspects of it. ठीक है एक empathize map हम बनाते हैं उस particular चीज के लिए and then I proceed. So I'll come to that. Then I define my problem because उस पूरे situation को analyze करने के बाद empathize का basic meaning है empathy का basic meaning is that I try to be in the shoes of the user. It's easy to say that but it is difficult to feel that thing we always say I understand your problem very well I can imagine your loss I can imagine the problem you're facing or the agony you're facing but technically वो जब तक आप उसको खुद फील नहीं करते हैं ना जब उस सिचुएशन में नहीं जाते हैं तो नहीं हो पाता है वो एक प्रैक्टिकली मैं आपको एक चीज बता रहा हूँ बट देन हियर वी ट्राई टू डू इट एज मच एज पॉसिबल जितना I can be into the shoes of my user. That step is empathize. Now, once I've done it, so once I'm into his shoes, I should be able to define his problem also. क्योंकि मुझे उसकी सारी सिचुएशन समझ में आ गई है ना अगर मैं भी उस सिचुएशन में होती तो मेरी क्या प्रॉब्लम होती तो वो आप डिफाइन कर लो प्रॉब्लम आफ्टर द प्रॉब्लम डेफिनेशन व्हेन द प्रॉब्लम इज रेडी नाउ आई लुक फॉर सॉल्यूशंस एंड दैट इज माय वेरियस आइडियाज इसको ऐसे भी कर सकते हैं उसको वैसे भी कर सकते हैं like a simple example I give you my problem is that I reach school late ठीक है that's my problem now empathize में आपने क्या निकाला आपने ये निकाला कि ओहो my I'm getting scolding every day I'm sad and this is happening that is happening आई एम बीइंग पनिश्ड, आई एम बीइंग पेरेंट्स बीइंग कॉल्ड, बहुत सारी चीजें हो रही हैं आसपास मुझे, लेकिन मुझे प्रॉब्लम समझ में नहीं आ रहा है. आई एम टायर्ड ऑल डे थ्रू, समथिंग हैपनिंग, बट देन व्हाई? सो सब कुछ देखने के बाद आई कम बैक टू द सोल्यूशन इज द मॉर्निंग व्हेन यू आर रीचिंग योर स्कूल लेट, योर होल डे गोज रॉन्ग. दैट्स द प्रॉब्लम. दैट इज कमिंग वेयर इन द डिफाइंड स्टेज, कि आपने उस बंदे की पूरी सिचुएशन को टॉप टू बॉटम समझा, एंड उसके बाद आपने डिफाइन करा कि बेटा तुम्हारी प्रॉब्लम ये है कि तुम स्कूल लेट पहुंचते हो. एंड दैट लीड्स टू द रेस्ट ऑफ द थिंग्स. यू आर इरिटेटेड, यू इरिटेट द टीचर गेट्स इरिटेटेड, then you are being scolded, and then all the things fall apart. ठीक है? So you define the problem there. Okay. Now, up you're reaching the school late. So then solution. ना, ultimately तो I need a solution. So you discuss with your friends कि यार अब क्या करना चाहिए मुझे इस चीज के लिए, है ना? So your friends suggest you जल्दी उठो, or they say move out early from your house, or what mode of transport do you use? You say you walk. Okay, then walking is taking time. Either you come out early of your house or you go for a vehicle. Acha, vehicle mein now what? Do I go for a vehicle myself? Do I cycle, bicycle to my school? Or I ask somebody to drop me? Or I go for a school bus or what? So then you start brainstorming. हर किसी का pros, हर किसी का cons, हर किसी का सब कुछ, in terms of finance also, in terms of everything you think, and try to find out a prototype of the solution. ठीक है? Now prototype is what? Prototype is like a design. आपने लिख लिया उस चीज को. Like इस case में you would kind of maybe write and tell it to your parents that this is the solution to my problem. So you may develop a 3D model for it. You may develop an app for it. You may develop, you may, you want to make a bridge. I reach late every day because there's a huge traffic jam which I'm facing every day for the railway crossing. तो आपका solution क्या है कि मैं I'll make a flyover. Obviously you can't do it if it is on a bigger scale, I'm saying. So flyover, तो आपने flyover का एक 3D मॉडल बनाया, यहाँ से हम ये करेंगे, वहां से हम वो करेंगे. So I mean that is how even the government comes out to solutions. No? Why does a decision being taken of 3,400 crores of rupees to be spent कि ऐसा करना चाहिए? They have been ideating about it. They have been thinking about it. They have been trying to find a solution. We see in the Kashmir area now, Vande Bharat train flag hua yesterday. Now that was an idea of somebody, no? कि ऐसा let's make that bridge. The Chenab bridge is becoming so popular. So much money spent, so much ideas have come up, so much engineering marvel has been, put into it. Knowledge has been put into it. And they have come up with that thing. Iske wo suddenly one day they got up and started creating that. No, it doesn't happen like that. So they make a 3D model of it. They discuss इसको ऐसे करेंगे तो ये प्रॉब्लम आएगा, ये होगा, वो होगा, है ना? सब कुछ एक प्रोटोटाइप रेडी किया जाता है, फिर उसको टेस्ट किया जाता है प्रोटोटाइप को, विथ ऑल इफ्स एंड बट्स. एंड देन यू लर्न फ्रॉम दैट टेस्ट. उसका जो आपका टेस्टिंग का जो सोल्यूशन आया, टेस्टिंग का जो आउटपुट आया, यू लर्न फ्रॉम दैट कि नहीं इसमें अभी भी ये प्रॉब्लम है. देन यू अगेन आइडिएट. सो यू कैन सी इट्स अ, कैन यू सी दैट इट्स अ सर्कुलर थिंग. फ्रॉम द टेस्ट you again come back to the ideate. From the prototype, you again come back to ideate. You nahi, abhi bhi it's not that perfect. It's not that perfect. It's not that perfect. So more thinking, more brainstorming, more ideas I want. And this is, it keeps on going. So that is why we call this particular design thinking process not as a linear process. Right? Now by linear process, what do I mean? Linear means one step, finish, cut, I go to the next step, finish, cut, I go to the next step. That's a linear process. एक बार एक स्टेप में पहुंच गए तो आप बैक नहीं करोगे. ठीक है? प्रैक्टिकली वो नहीं होता है. दैट इज व्हाई दिस काइंड ऑफ अ नॉन लीनियर अप्रोच इज बेस्ट, बिकॉज एनी टाइम यू आर स्टक विद दैट थिंग एंड यू फील कि सम न्यू पर्सन इज जॉइंड इन, उसका कुछ आइडिया है, एंड यू आर फीलिंग कि नहीं ये चीज उसका आइडिया अच्छा है, बेटर है, सो आई नीड टू इनकॉर्पोरेट. तो थोड़ा सा यू हैव टू गो बैक and start afresh. It'll take more resources, it'll take more time, it'll irritate you a little maybe, but then ultimately you get a better result. Right? That is why it's called a non-linear process. Can be asked in the assertion reasoning question somewhere. So this design thinking process, या किसी भी हम लोग एक और methodology करेंगे in the next part of it. There also it's a non-linear process. The process continues because whatever once you have thought of a solution, that's not the best one. Right? So उस चीज को एक और diagrammatic representation I found on the internet very well, so I got it for you. So empathy helps me define the problem. Then I think, so there's this bulb, that's the best way to remember. Then I create some ideas, prototypes I create, then I test it. From test creates new ideas for the project. एक चीज को test किया, एक चीज और देखा मैंने, oh, this can be incorporated to it. Right? So from the testing, I may go back to the empathy, to defining the problem again. From the defining, I may go back to again थोड़ा सा यूजर से मुझे कुछ और बात करना. So I go back to it. ठीक है? So this process is a non-linear process. It's not that one step you finish and you move on and you just can't go back. It's not that. Now let's go to the steps little more in detail before we come to one activity, which I think maybe I am not able to finish today. We'll have the activity done tomorrow, wherein we try to see that हमको बात समझ में आई कि नहीं आई, तो हम एक प्रॉब्लम को लेके उस चीज का सोल्यूशन चेक करेंगे. इट्स फ्रॉम योर बुक itself, but just that giving you an idea about it, right? Okay. Now talking about the first step, which is empathize. So empathize को मैंने क्या बोला आपको, that it is just trying to put yourself into the other's shoes and see the scenario from their eyes and being at an analyzed position. अब वो बंदा नहीं सोच पा रहा है उसके बारे में further. He will tell you only that I'm thinking this, I'm saying this is what is happening to me, this is what I'm feeling, and this is what I'm doing. Right? But you being the critical judge there, you are trying to solve his problem. So you get into his shoes and try to analyze the system, his situation better. And the situation is defined in terms of what he's saying, what he's thinking, what he's doing, and what he's feeling. My user. Okay? So that is what we try to say here. Through empathy, one tries to put oneself in other people's shoes and connect with how they might be feeling about their problem, their circumstance, or situation. The designers are expected to interact with the customers or users very frequently to gather the detailed facts about the problem and user expectations. Right now, this could be a big thing I'm talking about. This could be a thing which is very normal happening in my life. I am designing a new house. मेरे दिमाग में बहुत सारी चीजें हैं. मुझे यहाँ खिड़की चाहिए, मुझे यहाँ पे ये चाहिए, मुझे यहाँ पे फोटोज चाहिए, मुझे यहाँ दरवाजा चाहिए, मुझे यहाँ पे क्लोजेट चाहिए. Lot of things in my mind. My designer is coming, talking to me, getting my ideas, getting my feelings, trying to feel the way I want it. कि मुझे इस कमरे से उस कमरे में जाने पे ये फीलिंग आनी चाहिए. ठीक है? So my home designers, my architects are listening to me, and they are trying to give me my need. What exactly I need. The way when I enter the house and I feel, oh wow, I got what I wanted. Being functional also, not only the decorative part. Right? So that is what I'm trying to say here. That is what is the purpose of the step empathize. And इसमें we are talking about the four things here. What is the user says, उसको समझो, उसको पढ़ो. What the user is thinking. He's not saying it, but he's thinking. What the user is doing in front of you. That is also something which you have to judge. And what the user is feeling. And believe me, यहाँ पे the AI machines are not that useful, you know. It's the human to human connect which works. AI को हम ये सब चीजें दे देंगे, वो तुम्हें empathy map बना के दे देगा. So then coming to those conclusions that, okay, that connect is which still is important, and it's the human connect only which works in this case. Right? Okay, next one. So now I've seen all the four aspects of it. I have the data for that, and then I move further. Okay, I've got two examples here, rather which I would come back once we go to the actual activity. I would move further on to do the steps because 10 minutes left. I want to finish the steps properly. If we have time today, I'll come back to this example. Now coming to the problem definition stage. Now my architect or my designer is, all over me, and he's understood my issues, listened to me, cross over my thoughts, सब कुछ कर लिया. Now he has to define the problem, and for problem definition, they have given you a particular technique, which is called as the 5W1H. Sri Ram and Sri Krishna will correlate to this particular thing. We have done something like this in class 10th also.
Yes, ma'am.
Right? So yes, so that used to be a 4W canvas problem. Okay, so the previously done method was that. Now things have changed, and now we are talking about this 5W1H. That is how we define the entire thing. Okay, so if I see that set of 5 W's and 1 H. What do they mean? So here you have who, what, where, when, why, and how. Okay. So who, what, where. So I define my problem in these kind of terms. कैसे हम इस चीज को समझ सकते हैं? By these one single statements. Very simple to understand this about. What? If I'm talking about what, so my first definition of the thing should be that what is the nature of the problem. उस प्रॉब्लम को पूरा अच्छे से डिफाइन करो, डिस्क्राइब करो, स्पेसिफिक डिटेल्स पिक करो, उस पे थिंकिंग एंड ब्रेनस्टॉर्मिंग करो टू डिफाइन द नेचर ऑफ द प्रॉब्लम ऑफ द सिचुएशन. Because I believe the problem is not well defined, the solution can never be applicable. I just take 2 seconds of yours to explain this thing with a very, very wonderful example which our teachers used to teach when we were doing it. You know, a very simple thing. You feel that your company or your company has got huge queues all the time. You're irritated. People are irritated by your companies. It could be a bank, it could be anything. So I'm just saying that huge queues all the time. So आपको लगता है भाई बहुत काम है, customer satisfaction नहीं है, customer is always irritated, standing in the sun, long queues, they're not getting the way they want the things. So that is you're seeing. ठीक है, आपने उस चीज को समझा कि भाई my employees are very, very overburdened. Too much work is there. So what you do is you try to get the best of the computers, you try to get AI-enabled machines, you try to do this, you try to do that, incorporate all that machine. But you find still the queues are there. Still the customer satisfaction is not there. तुमने इतना खर्चा कर लिया, but then ultimately you land up into the same scenario. Customer satisfaction 0. Because the actual problem was that your people were not motivated to work. You know, if you have landed up into a private bank and a public bank, if I say, I should not name it in this video because I put on the YouTube also, but in general situation I'm saying, you will always have these private banking officials, always ready to help you. If I go and stand there looking lost, one of them will come and approach me and say, ma'am, how can I help you? But if you go to a government organization or a government place, a government bank maybe, they are not bothered. आप उसको 4 क्वेश्चन करोगे तो वो 1 क्वेश्चन का जवाब देगा. ठीक है.
But the thing is, private sector is more profit focused, so they try to
Yes.
get more customers.
Yes. So this at least see, customer is what, पैसा मुझे वहां भी देना है, पैसा मुझे वहां भी देना है ना. बट कस्टमर का रिक्वायरमेंट क्या है? उसको चाहिए कि मेरा प्रॉब्लम अच्छे से हैसल फ्री तरीके से सॉल्व हो जाए. व्हेन आई एम हैसल, आई एम बाइंग अ न्यू प्रॉपर्टी, आई एम हैसल्ड, आई हैव गॉट सो मेनी थिंग्स टू डू. उसके अंदर अगर मुझे वो गवर्नमेंट ऑफिशियल्स के भी सारे नखरे सहने पड़े, सो आई डोंट वांट दैट. I want an easy path for me. I want an easy solution for me. So why not approach the private bank? Why go to a bank who's not even happy to help me? Right? Though things have changed nowadays, it's not those old days, old days, where they were really not interested. That is why the privatization has actually taken up a huge lead. But then now things have improved in a lot of terms, but earlier things were not like that. Right? So coming back to my situation, what I was telling you, the owner of the company realized that my problem still exists. I still have 0 customer satisfaction. If I see my app, वहाँ पे अभी भी 1 rating मिल रहा है, मुझे 2 rating मिल रहा है, क्या हुआ भाई? I did the best I could do. I've spent crores of rupees on that, but still the problem. So the problem is that your staff is not motivated. Your staff is not happy to work. Your staff is not giving us 100%. तुम उस पे काम करो. I can give you some small solutions. Provide them with conveyance. Provide them with maybe extra time. What do you call it? Bonus. Provide them with 1 free meal. Provide them with thanda cooler or a AC environment where they can work better. Provide them with a free cup of tea or a coffee. Rather than spending crores on those high-tech things, you could have invested here. That would have given me a better result. Talk to them. What is their problem? What exactly is leading them to this kind of a brain lock? They're not able to do the best. Okay. Once a while, give them a work from home. That also helps a lot, motivating them. है ना? So all these things are there. That's what I was just trying to tell you कि problem का definition, problem को understand करना बहुत जरूरी है to get the best solution. Otherwise, it's of no use. Okay. So that is the focus of my what. Then who? Who are the people involved? This who was also a question which we did in the 4W canvas. So that is what? Who are the people? Who are my stakeholders who are involved in that thing? Because those will be my focus. मैं बार बार अपना प्रोटोटाइप लेके उसके पास जाऊंगी कि अब तुम टेस्ट करके बताओ कि ये तुम्हारा प्रॉब्लम को सॉल्व कर रहा है कि नहीं कर रहा है ना. My solutions which I developed, I went to the upper management to approve and for testing and for everything. ठीक है. अपर मैनेजमेंट और IIM ग्रेजुएट्स उनको तो बहुत अच्छा लग रहा है मेरा सिस्टम. बट अल्टीमेटली व्हेन आई कम डाउन टू माय यूजर्स, दे आर सिंपल ग्रेजुएट्स और दे आर पीपल हु आर लिटिल टेक हेजिस्टेंट. तो आप देखो कि आपका सिस्टम वो बंदा यूज कर पा रहा है जिसको एक्चुअली में यूज करना है. मेरा मैनेजर आके बैठ के उस पर काम नहीं करेगा. ठीक है. सो हु आर द पीपल इन्वॉल्व. अल्टीमेटली आपको उनसे बात करनी है, उनसे प्रोटोटाइपिंग टेस्ट कराना है, सब कुछ वो करेंगे. राइट. So who are the people involved? So that is what you try to answer. Where is the location of the problem? It's not happening in the Dwarka office. It's happening in the Motibag office. It's not happening here. It's happening there. Right? Or it's little less here and it's more there. So specify the location where the problem is happening and the impact of your solution will come. Because आपको वो scenario भी check करना. When? Is it happening throughout? My sales is not going up throughout the year, or it's not going up during the summer months. Why? Because your showrooms are not air conditioned. People are not wanting to come to that gloomy or that suffocated place from April to October. Simple solution, put ACs. Right? So, location. Or I'm sorry, I'm talking about the time duration. कब है वो problem? कब होता है? Is throughout the day my staff is not motivated, or it's around the lunch time that the queues become longer and they're not able to work properly. So find it out. Right? Now, why? Of course, the factors are important which is leading to the problem. And so you have to define the problem. You can define the problem well only when you have judged the factors well. So why is the problem happening? That is also very, very important. And then ultimately, you focus on the method or the processes. So how? So ये one H है ultimate उस मेरे पूरे process में, which is talking about focusing on the methods or processes involved to solve my issue. How the problem has to be solved, how the solution can be implemented in the best possible manner. Right? So empathize, which talks of how the user sees, what he's doing, what he's feeling, all that you judge. Second is I talk about the 5 W and 1 H criteria of defining my problem. Problems are related, solutions are related, ये चीजें define करना बहुत जरूरी है. ठीक है, that's my second step. Right? So I move further on with these steps in the next class. And what I expect you to do is just give it a little read, a 15-20 minutes read from your book, from the 11th class manual, right? Unit 4. So that you are able to correlate to what we are discussing. Right? Tomorrow again.